Saturday, the 12th of June, when Emil bought some useless junk at the auction at Bakova, which turned out to be quite useful in the end. One Saturday in June there was an auction at Bakova that everyone planned to attend, for auctions were what they enjoyed most in Lonnenberger and the whole of Smarland. Emil's father, Anton Svensson, was going, of course. Alfred and Lena had pestered him so much that he had agreed to take them along too, and naturally Emil was going. If you have ever been to an auction, you'll know what it is all about. You'll know that when people want to sell their belongings, they put them up for auction so that other people can bid on them and buy them. The people from Bakova wanted to sell everything that they had, for they were emigrating to America, as so many people did in those days, and they couldn't take their kitchen beds and frying pans and cows and pigs and hens with them. So on this early summer day, there was going to be an auction at Bakova. Emil's father was hoping to get a bargain on a cow, and perhaps a sow, and possibly a couple of hens. That was why he was going to Bakova, and that was why he had let Alfred and Lena go with him, for he would need their help to bring the animals home. "But what Emil thinks he's doing there, I don't know," said Emil's father. "We don't need Emil to make trouble," said Lena. "There's sure to be plenty of that around anyway." Lena knew that there were usually lots of quarrels and fights at auctions in Lonnenberger and all of Smarland, so she was right in that way. But Emil's mother looked at her sternly and said, "If Emil wants to go, he shall go. It's nothing to do with you. You just watch how you behave, and don't go making eyes at the fellows like you usually do." Well, that remark caused Lena to fall quiet. Emil put on his cap and was ready. "Buy something for me," said little Ida, and she tilted her head onto one side. She didn't say it to anyone in particular, but her father scowled. Buy, it's all I ever hear. Didn't I buy you 10 oars worth of sugar candy just the other day for your birthday in January, don't you remember?" Emil was about to ask his father for some money, for you can't go to an auction with empty pockets, but then he thought he'd better not. It obviously wasn't the right moment to try and get money out of his father, who was already sitting in the big milk cart impatient to be off. "What you can't get one way, you must get another," Emil said to himself, and he thought hard for a moment and then set off. "You go on ahead. I'll come on later on Lucas." Emil's father was suspicious when he heard this, but he was anxious to be off as quickly as possible, so he only said, "Oh, all right, but it would be better if you stayed at home altogether." And then he cracked his whip and away they went. Alfred waved to Emil and Lena waved to Ida, and Emil's mother shouted to Emil's father, "See that you come home without any broken bones." She said that because she knew what terrible fights there sometimes were at auctions. The milk cart disappeared rapidly round a bend in the road. Emil stood in a cloud of dust and watched them go, and then he got busy. He had to get some money somehow, and you'll never guess how he did it. If you had been a child in Smarland when Emil was little, you would know all about the gates that were everywhere in those days. They were there to keep the cows and sheep of Smarland in their pastures. I think they were also there to help the Smarland children earn a 2-oar piece each time they opened a gate for some farmer in his horse-drawn cart who was too lazy to open it himself. Cattelt had a gate, but Emil had only earned a few precious oar from it because Cattelt was on the outskirts of the village and hardly anyone came that way. There was only one farm further away, and that was Bakova, the farm where the auction was to be held, which means that everyone will have to come through our gate on his way to the auction, thought Emil, the clever boy. Emil stood at the gate for a whole hour, and he earned 5 kroner, 75 oar. Just imagine that. Horses and carts came in such constant flow that he could barely shut the gate after one went through before he had to open it again for another. All the farmers passing through were in a good mood, though, because they were going to the auction, and they cheerfully threw 2-oar and 5-oar pieces into Emil's cap. Some of the old fellows were so full of the joys of spring, they gave him a whole 10-oar piece, though they probably regretted it immediately afterwards. But the farmer from Kragstorp went into a tantrum when Emil shut the gate in his brown mare's face. "Why have you shut the gate?" he yelled. "Well, I've got to shut it before I can open it," said Emil. "Why don't you leave it open on a day like this?" demanded the farmer crossly. "I'm not stupid," said Emil. "This is the first time I'm getting something out of this silly old gate." But the farmer from Kragstock flicked Emil with his whip and didn't give him a coin. When everyone who was going to the auction had passed through Emil's gate and there was no more money to earn, Emil mounted Lucas and rode off so fast that the coins in his trouser pockets bounced and jingled.